to your careers, placements and employability steps to success program. We are the placements team, or two representatives of the placements team here with you today. And we're going to give you a talk around placements and micro placements. So we're going to start with an introduction to who we are, what we do, and how we can support you, the benefits of doing a placement of some variety, whether that be a placement year or micro placements, which you can do alongside your studies at any year of your course. We're going to show you some examples of students who have done amazing roles on placement at the university. We're going to highlight what we can do for you, all the ways we can help, and give you some really big top tips, some of which are things that we absolutely know aren't so obvious and can actually make a huge difference when you're applying to placements. I'm going to give you a few quotes as well. So listen to your peers, some really kind of hard-hitting quotes to really emphasize the value that we can add. And ultimately, we want to share that you're never on your own in applying for any placement or work experience that you go for. So we're in your corner, and the experience we have can absolutely help you. We're going to tell you a little bit too about Go Abroad and Be Inspired. So they're part of our careers team as well. Some amazing opportunities internationally and from a self-employment perspective that we'd love to share with you, both of which can be done as a placement. And then we're going to tell you all about how to come and see us and our email address and where we're located. Fantastic. So this is us. As you can see, there's myself and Tom on the call today. We are part of your placements team. And essentially, what we want to get across is that doing a placement while you're a student is so valuable. 97% of placement students are in graduate level jobs within 15 months of graduating. So working on something alongside your degree, whether it be part-time or whether it be taking a full year out, is really valuable. The future growth is incredible. You'll be so grateful for that time that you spend doing it when you're a student, because your graduate career is why you're here at university. You know, you're here to invest in your future, and we support you on that journey. Like I've said, we can do UK, international, full-time, part-time, essentially, whether it's short-term alongside your studies, full-year placements, we're here to help every step of the way. You can contact us anytime, placements@staffs.ac.uk. That is our email address that we're in every day. There's always someone in it who will reply to you as soon as possible. And we're in the Science Centre as well, ground floor, main entrance. So there's a representative of our team always there too. Just to give you a little bit of background as well in our role specifically. So I'm the Senior Placements Officer for undergraduate placements, essentially overseeing all student placement activity from placement years to the shorter term stuff as well, understanding the whole picture and the strategy and taking into account pre-placement, on-placement, post-placement, and everything that falls into that. We've got Jane and Tom. I'll let Tom introduce himself now. They focus more actively working with you one-to-one from a student perspective.
Yep. So I'm Tom. I'm placement officer here at the University of Staffordshire, and I am the placement officer for HEPS, which stands for Health, Education, Policing and Sciences, as well as the games courses as well. And we have Jane, also placement officer here at the university, who works with the School of DTIB, which is Digital Technologies, Innovation and Business, and she also does games too.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And then we're also supported by Philippa Rowlands and Amy Sanderson. So Philippa is our compliance lead in our placements team. So she ensures that ultimately any placement you ever do is safe. It has covered all the right protocols. We have a health and safety form, and we know that wherever you're going, whatever you're doing, you're going to be safe when you do that, and have all those checks in place. She also works really closely with the academics to make sure we get approval for all of the placements that you're doing, whether it fits in with your course, whether it's extracurricular. We like to get that approval, so she'll ensure that that whole picture is looked at, and also some eVision management and support, because your placement year and all of your placement activity should be recorded correctly on eVision to make sure that that's all kept in a safe place, and you can shout about it as well in your future. As well as that, we've got Amy. So Amy supports us with all things placement. She works with the international team, she works with us, whether it be events, whether it be supporting all the processes that we all do, essentially, you know, being an incredible help throughout. She'll lend herself to anything and support Tom, Jane, and myself and Pip in every way. So we're a team of 5, specifically from a student perspective. Like I say, you can contact any of us at any time through placements@staffs.ac.uk. And our big message really is to come and see us. You know, we can tell you more about all the things that we do individually and what we do as a team. But to come and see us and start that conversation is our big message. The earlier you do that, the better.
So, hi everyone. So, here is a little bit of information, a little bit of added incentive to do a placement or a micro placement. I'd like to hope that we don't need too much more incentive outside of the fact that it's an incredible experience and most students will go on to do those graduate roles much sooner than others. But if you need a bit more, there's placement students earn 8% more on average than students and grads who have not completed a placement year. They tend to climb the ladder a bit faster as well. So going into managerial positions or just climbing that career ladder in whatever organization you are going to go into, it does go a lot faster if you've got that experience. 42% of students return to their placement provider after graduating. We are waiting some new stats on that, and it is likely to be even higher than that. So now too, but I've had countless amount of students who, during their placement year, they've worked with Airbus, for example, or Synectic Solutions, and even before their placement year is finished and they've returned to us for their final year, their provider has gone, I want them. I'm happy to wait a year whilst they finish their studies and I want them back straight away. Imagine that. Before your course is even finished, before you've even graduated, your graduate position is sorted. Imagine that. That would just be incredible. Achieve a better degree. So your classification is usually higher when you do a placement. We don't know why that is. We suspect it's likely because you know what it's like to get into those positions, you know what it takes, which is probably the most important thing. When you see what it's like to work at those organizations, you're like, I need to get my degree good, finish with a first instead of maybe a 2-1, for example. But it's a fact. Students who do placement years or do more experience, such as micro placements, do get that better classification. 80% of employers agree that students who complete work-related learning have a more enhanced skill set. And that sort of lends on to what I'm about to say. So the skill sets can be technical, they can be transferable skills too. So we've got self-confidence, adaptability, communication, transferable skills, resilience, industry expertise. Me and Rory can't tell you, and Jane cannot tell you the amount of times where we've had a student who has come to see us for appointments to search and apply for placements. They're not quite so confident in themselves, but they get the placement, but then they return and they are a completely different person. Their confidence is through the roof. They know exactly what it takes to get in there. Their technical skills are up there. They've made friends. It really, the amount of times we see a completely different person transformed by their placement experience, it happens every single year, all the time. So yeah, always worth doing. So here is a list of some of the employers that we have students go on placements with. Before I go any further, this is far from exhaustive, but some really good companies here. So AstraZeneca, we have some of our biomed students, some of our forensic science students who've worked with them, KPMG, Cisco for some of our cybersecurity, computing students, Epic Games, Amazon, IBM, NHS, of course, Playnetic, IKEA, Airbus, but again, far from exhaustive. We have some other companies that are local to us too, Bet365, for example, Synectic Solutions, and we have other games organisations that we work with, including our in-house one, Oatcake Interactive. We didn't want to put that on the slide so we didn't look like we were tooting our own horn, but we have our own in-house studio that we have students go into constantly as well. So the reality is that your placement can be whatever you want it to be. It could be whichever company or organization you want, but these companies have taken students on and they're household names. So it's always worth knowing that this is something that you can strive towards, both in your placement and then to move on to when you graduate. So Again, a few more. So we've got Airbus, BA East for some of our engineers, playground and games, software engineering. That's always a good thing to think of as well. When it comes to your different areas, your specialisms, your subjects, your courses, your skills that you've learned transfer onto a lot of different areas. So if you are a programmer in games, you can do software engineering. In fact, you have more than enough skills to do something like that. Bentley, Caldwell Children's for those students who want to do health psychologists or educational psychologists. We've got students working with them now, working with students who might need autism diagnoses, such as things like that. Walt Disney Company, loads. So yeah, again, and despite the fact that we've got another slide here, again, far from exhaustive, we've got students who are currently going for roles in places such as EA, which I mentioned at the bottom, but we've got KPI education, working to get some more experience. We have citizens advice, synaptic solutions that are more related to forensics. So yeah, we could talk to you all day about the different companies and organizations. This is a little bit for you to just see and think, yeah, this is the stuff that I can do. So, step into your placement journey. As Rory mentioned a little bit earlier on, if you take anything away from this session, it's to get in contact with us. Talk to us, talk about your placement, and start that journey with us. Because it starts with us talking about CV and cover letters, articulating your skills, targeting a job, and the job description itself to be able to get ready for your position. We'll have a conversation specifically for you. We won't just give you this average information that's just about, just go for this role. We'll talk about your subject. We'll talk about programming roles, design, art. We'll talk about the forensic skills, what you've done in laboratories, what you've done in your engineering practicals, and what you actually want from your placement. So it is going to be specific for you, for your course. There's LinkedIn. It's the world's biggest networking site productively. And the reason why LinkedIn is so important for a lot of your courses is that people follow each other on LinkedIn. You follow companies, organizations. Some companies will only get their roles, their placements out on LinkedIn because they know the right people are following them. They don't need to put it elsewhere. You should look elsewhere, by the way, but it's always good to use LinkedIn because sometimes it'll be the only place they'll put some of their roles. We've got mock interviews. Interviews are not normal conversations, and you need to practice them. We've got some stats, some quotes later on that sort of illustrate why this is so important to come to see us. But a lot of students haven't done a formal interview. It's totally understandable. That's what we're here to help with, putting yourself into what we call the star method, being able to illustrate and evidence what you've done, because you would have all done things through your studies, through your experience, even if you haven't got too much work experience right now, that you can talk about in mock interviews. So to finish that off, as I said, please get in contact with us with our email at the bottom, placements@staffs.ac.uk. So search and apply. So we've got some areas here. So we've got Handshake, which is our portal that we use. We constantly put job roles on here, but we also, to our placement students, we will highlight when your placement ready. So when your CVs are ready, when we've talked to you and you've got an idea of what you want to go for, we'll say that, and we can also put you forward to organizations. We've got Rate My Placements, which I think has just changed its name. GradCracker, Hiring, LinkedIn. Bright Network is fantastic to be able to see some placements from a scheme point of view. So it'll have dates and it will tell you when the placements are coming up. Indeed, of course, is an average job website, but absolutely essential you check these. Google. Always do a Google search. Don't forget to do that. Total jobs. These are some of the overall average job websites, portals that we've got that we're telling you about, but don't forget some of your specific ones. There are ones that are related to your course that if we were to put in a slide, we would be going on for another 3 or 4 slides. But don't forget things like For Our Gamers. You've got Hitmarker, for example. You've got Jobs in Science for forensics, biomed. We've got engineering platforms for engineering. So don't forget some of those technical ones. And that illustrates, once again, why it's very important to see us. We have all those resources. So coming to see us gives you those more technical, specialized searching platforms that are going to be useful to you. So, as you can probably tell by our contact details on every slide in the last one, get in contact with us. Make sure you do.
Fantastic, absolutely. And I can't tell you enough how brilliant Tom and Jane are working with you as a student. You know, it's a real journey. And the development, as Tom's already mentioned, in so many students is huge. And we know the impact that we have. You know, we know every subject. We're experts at every subject. You know, we really understand what it takes for each area. And I think that adds so much value, and we know that does. As well as everything Tom's already mentioned brilliantly there around the ways we can support you. These are just some tips that we wanted to bring into the meeting as well to show that actually some of it isn't as obvious. So obviously CVs, you know, cover letters, interview preparation clearly are really important and absolutely, you know, imperative that you can kind of crack those and work with us to do that to make sure you're performing at the top of your game in all those areas. But these are just things we wanted to highlight today as well. So resilience, I know Tom did mention it earlier, but it is really important. I think it's understanding that for that right placement or that right opportunity, you may have to go through not hearing back from companies, or getting to a final stage and not getting that role that you really wanted. But actually, that's all part of the process. And I know that every person that you might look up to in any career or any industry, they've probably had those knockbacks along the way. It's easy to think, oh, you know, X person has, oh, it's just worked out for them clearly because they got this job at that company. But actually, it's really important to understand they probably had to go through rejections as well along the way. And that resilience is key because ultimately it's the people who don't give up that get, you know, the opportunities through working hard, not giving up, learning as they go, working with us on that journey. You know, it's not a case of, yeah, let's get you ready to apply to a few things and that's it. You know, we're there for you on the knockbacks. We're there for you to help understand why that interview didn't go as well as you wanted it to, or why maybe we're not hearing back from things. And then we keep working with you to get you to where you want to be. So that resilience is key, and you're never on your own. Keeping track of any applications you make or want to make. This is really important. Especially when you're like, you know, really driven and want to apply to loads of things, or you keep seeing things that are interesting. You just need to know when they all close, what you've applied to already, what CV and cover letter you used for that. So really having like a good admin really perspective and understanding, okay, where am I at with all my applications? When are the deadlines? When am I expected to hear back so I can chase companies maybe if it's been a while? All those things go a really long way. And those softer things there, so not missing the deadline. You know, you might have a role that you're desperate to apply to. You think it's the best role you've ever seen. Oh, it's perfect for me. All of a sudden, if you're actually looking at a few different roles at the same time, you slight mistake in, okay, the deadline's on Friday. I know it is. Oh my God, you go to apply on that Friday and oh no, it was yesterday. What have I done? I'm gutted. So doing that kind of, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet or just keeping a track, just avoids those situations. And like I say, with the following up on things, that shows you to be a really, you know, invested candidate. Let's say 50 people have applied for a placement. If you're one of three who, after 2 weeks, when they said they'd get back to you and they still haven't, if you're one of three students who have gone, hey, I'm just checking in on this, just want to hear back, that shows that to that company that you're someone who's really on it. You understand that, you know, communication is key. You're showing willing. That might be the thing that makes you stand out, because they go, hang on, you know, everyone else has forgotten to chase us about this, and we have delayed ourselves for different reasons. I really like the way that, you know, Helen has followed up with us on that, using that as an example. Sell yourself. It's so hard for everyone to do. We appreciate that, and obviously we can support you in doing this. But it's so key. No one else will do it for you in your application. You know, have a really eyes on my own paper approach, which is, what am I doing to stand out? How am I talking about myself to stand out? Whether that be a CV, cover letter, an interview, really own you and your brilliance, your skills, your knowledge. Essential in interviews to be like, I did this. This is what I contributed. This is my action. This is the result I generated, as opposed to, even if you worked in a team, if you're saying we a lot, or or you're not really packing that punch of what you did, that does really get noticed by an employer. So own what you did as part of that group project, as an example, and sell that, talk about it, promote yourself, and deliver that impact, because that's going to be really key at CV, cover letter, and interview stage as well. Selling how much you want that job. I think it's really interesting how sometimes, you might be really interested in 5 or 10 jobs, and you might have 3 interviews on the go that week. That employer does not care about all of that. If you're sat in front of an employer, or if you're applying to an employer's placement position, they're going to want to see that you want that job. They don't care about the wider perspective of other things you might be interested. They're going to want to know that you are so invested in this, and it really interests you for these reasons. That's where you do some research, really target the company you're applying to, and that goes a long, long way as well. It might just be being able to drop in an interview that you've noticed they won an award recently, or the fact that that employer, sorry, the line manager at that employer has been at the company for 15 years, but they've gone through loads of promotions. But clearly, you might want to ask a few questions about why they love the company so much, and how they got to where they are. Little things like this show real interest, real targeted efforts, that show you've got your finger on the pulse, as opposed to being in any interview or applying for any job that's more, yeah, I'm just looking for a placement or what have you. They're going to be able to notice that, compared to, I really want to apply for this position and work with you for these reasons. That packs a real punch. Researching the company, I've just mentioned it there, absolutely essential. Show that you've done your research, show you've got knowledge that maybe other people haven't looked at. It might honestly even be 10 minutes on their website or on LinkedIn, as a starting point. It doesn't need to be that you need to know that company inside out, but take 3 to 5 things that you can bring up in that interview and call upon if needed. And they may not ask you, what do you know about us? But it's really important that you're dropping things in to show that you've done that research to help you stand out. And finally, to save any job descriptions you apply for as well. Quite often you can apply and go, great, I'm really excited about that. And then the role deadline passes and the role just goes. It's gone off the company website, it's gone off LinkedIn, and they come back and say, oh, we want to interview you. But then all of a sudden you're like, great, I knew I was really excited about this role, and I've got the job title here, but I haven't got the job description. I need to, and that is going to be your best friend when you come to interview. That is going to be the thing that you completely look at and go, right, am I delivering everything they want, or as close to everything they want? So you need to save those for anything that you apply to. Fantastic. So some short quotes that we mentioned we'd talk about earlier. So a few from students and a few from employers. This is absolutely not exhaustive either. There's so many kind of anecdotes we could pull upon in this moment. But student-wise, this is amazing from a student. We've supported, Tom's worked really closely, Tom and Jane, with this student into EA, and they're a game student. Without their help, I would not have achieved my placement year at EA. That just is so impactful. And that is a student that we work with from first year. Tom and Jane worked with from first year, and they, were, Tom will definitely be able to tell you better than me, but they were unsure, didn't know how to do it, didn't know what it required, didn't know where to look, but wanted to work in the games industry. And over a period of time, which is why we're emphasizing, the earlier you come and work with us, the better. Tom and Jane have worked with that student, and they have just absolutely smashed the interview process at EA. They've got their placement really early. They've stood out a mile, and they've got basically what is their dream job, and they've not even graduated yet. That is incredible to showcase what clearly that student can be really proud of their achievements and what they're capable of, and will continue to be amazing. But the impact that the team have had to just elevate, support, guide, is huge. Another quote, if I had any advice, it would be to reach out earlier rather than later. So again, just cementing the impact we have from early. You don't need to come and speak to us with anything worked out. You don't have to have any answers. Just come with, I want some help. Where do I start? You know, it doesn't need to be, you don't have to have anything sorted. Just speak to us and we will guide you through that whole journey. Work out what you want, work out what might be best for you. Is it a placement year, which would be obviously incredible, but would it suit you better to do something abroad, or, you know, which you could do as a placement year as well, by the way, going abroad. But, you know, what is it that interests you? What kind of industry, what roles? Have you thought about thinking broader, even beyond just looking at your degree, and that you might really want to be one thing, but actually there's so many roles out there and we might be able to support you open that net, open a new industry or a new career that you never ever thought of, which could be life changing. So yeah, we're there to help. Employer wise, it's night and day on which students have and haven't used the placements team. You know, that's incredible. They've basically interviewed students and they can clearly see who has not had our interview prep, who's, you know, who has been to see us. And then the differences I've seen are massive. A student is so much more confident about themselves and their application. So again, you know, we're supporting you as a person, not just with your, you know, skills or knowledge, or broadening your horizons. It's actually, we can develop you to give the kind of characteristics and elevate yourself as best as you can to deliver an amazing interview, for example. So yeah, just some quotes to hopefully peer to peer help you understand the value that we can add. Amazing. A little bit about Go Abroad. We've mentioned it as well, but essentially, we don't own the Go Abroad side of things. Tom and Ellie do. They are our Go Abroad placement officers, and they are the best people to speak to directly about doing anything abroad. You can do a placement year abroad, whether that's working, whether that's studying. You could study abroad for a placement year as of the next academic year. So absolutely. Please speak to them. They have different funding options. They are the best people to go to give you all the detail on that. The funding will vary from person to person as well. So if you're in any way interested, start a conversation with Tom and Ellie at goabroad@staffs.ac.uk. They will speak to you about all your options, all the different trips they've got plans. They do 2-week trips, 4-week trips. There's short-term stuff. There's big scale year abroad. All over the world. So it is an amazing scheme that they run. And I honestly, I didn't go abroad when I was a student at university, and oh, I wish I did. This is the best and easiest time to go abroad because you've got the support network, the foundations of your university to support you, with funding available too, from person to person. So not only could you potentially financially be benefiting or supported in going, which you wouldn't do if, you know, if you're a graduate, you wouldn't have that. You also got that support network of academics, of us as a placements team, you know, to support you on that whole journey. So I really wish I had learned from my mistakes, please, because if I was a student again, I would jump at this in a heartbeat. Fantastic. So told you a bit about that. Like I said, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, long term, all options available. They've taken students all over the world last year. So I think the next slide kind of highlights potential options that were available to you, but that included, there you go, North America, Finland, Vietnam, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Australia, India. Um, incredible placements that happened last year going abroad, whether that's work or study. This is just a snapshot as well. I know there's more trips happening all the time, and you can do your own individual trips too. So there's loads of stuff going on. Chat to Tom and Ellie, go abroad at staffs.ac.uk.
Awesome. So, we mentioned earlier on how your placement can be essentially anything you want it to be, and that translates to startups. Start your own business, thinking entrepreneurship, enterprise, which leads on to be inspired. So we have several students currently who are doing self startup placements as their placement year. They've got an idea. For example, some students we have currently are thinking of creating their own games. Some are actually in the middle of creating their own games. A couple of them solo ventures, a couple of them with other students. other placement year students. And yeah, the scheme is Be Inspired, run by the amazing Mark Williams, who will support you all the way through that journey if that is something you want to do. Some of the other areas we've got students going into, some of them are doing some freelance work with art. But again, your placement can be whatever you want it to be. Maybe you are a psychology student who's thinking of maybe creating a business to be able to help people with maybe therapy, or even some children for educational and maybe neurodiversity. You can have those conversations and see if you can make a business out of it and do that as your placement year. But again, it could be whatever you want it to be. So if you are doing something completely different, maybe you're an engineering student, but you really like doing art and you do commissions for art, there's absolutely nothing to stop you from being able to explore that as part of a placement year or placement journey. So what we do in Be Inspired is we support students in their entrepreneurial journey, workshops and extra guidance. For some reason, I always struggle to say entrepreneurial. But you get a £1,500 grant, no repayment, of course. And this is for anything that you'll need to be able to get your business up and running and ready to essentially to start try and make a profit over time, of course. That can be marketing, equipment, product development, professional services. So we have some students who've used that to be able to get better computers, being able to get some software, being able to get things such as someone to work on a website for them. But if you were to do this as part of a group, say there's 4 of you that have decided you're going to try and do this together, you would get that 1,500 each. So totaling 6,000 if it was the 4 of you, that you could all then use to, get together, get the business together. Access to resources, expert guidance, and peer networking. So you would get a peer mentor, somebody who is in an organization who will talk to you what it was like for them to start their business, what it was like for them to essentially start this journey in a startup. Mark will also be your point of contact and will be in regular contact for a placement year to see how you are, how it's going, and essentially make sure that you're doing all the things that you need to be able to do. Because obviously, if you then start trading during that year, you would need to start thinking about tax and things like that. So you'll get supported by your peer mentor and Mark in that way too. Personalized mentorship, as I just mentioned, with experienced advisors. We have, for example, things like people like Snappy Gurus who offer assistance to be able to get into the games industry, what it was like for them. They also did Be Inspired. So we have several individuals and companies and organizations who did Be Inspired over the years, who can talk about how it became a success for them and how you can replicate that as well. Focus on growth, learning, and leadership. It really is your chance to be able to get something off the ground. If it's something that you've always wanted to do, or something, even if it's something that you just thought maybe, have a chat with Mark, see whether it's a viable business. And you might, as Rory said, the same sort of way with placements in general. Even if you don't know too much, even if it's just, well, I've thought maybe this, have those conversations with Mark. He can see whether it's viable. He can see whether it's something that you can do or should do as part of a placement, or whether you can develop those ideas to make them viable. So yeah, chat to Mark to find out more at mark.williams@staffs.ac.uk. So, as we mentioned, book an appointment with us. It is so important that you do this. So if you're a level 4 student thinking of doing a placement or a micro placement, now is the time. You want to get several placements start to come up instantly in September. So, and some of them even beforehand, might I add. So you'd want to have that CV, that portfolio, that cover letter that you would tailor for each role ready by the time you start next year, to go straight into those applications. I can't tell you the amount of times where I've seen a student who's gone, oh, I really want to apply for this role. It's like, okay, yep, I'll help you out. And then it's closed before they've got anything together. Make sure that you come to see us early on so we can help you get it all together and you can go straight into applications. I had a student miss out on a role with Blizzard and another one with Larian Studios earlier on in this year because we had met them. They said they wanted to go for the role, but they hadn't got a portfolio together. They hadn't got a CV, and the role was closing that day. Don't be that person. Come to see us. We can help you all the way through. And if it's all ready over the summer. By the time you start again, it's all sorted. And then level 5, placements are still up and ready to apply for. If you haven't seen us yet, try to focus and get some time, because we'll book in multiple appointments and they can be as quick as you need. We can have a couple over a couple of days to go through a CV, go through a portfolio and a cover letter, and ready for apply tomorrow. So don't think that you've missed it yet. We can still help you to get a placement. And that's the same for things such as Go Abroad and Be Inspired. That's still available. Make sure you do come and see us in one form or another. So yeah, give us an email here at Placements to Staffs. We are always in the Science Centre. So if you walk through the main doors of the Science Centre and just look to your right, as soon as you've walked in, you will see our team. Walk in, have a chat with us. If we're available, we can see you right then and then to have an appointment and discuss what you might want for a placement. So yeah, get in touch with us as well. Maybe you're thinking of some overall work experience as well, because placements, micro placements, fantastic. But some of the things that you might want to do to be able to get towards a placement is to have some experience during your first year, for example. So here's some additional information, such as a phone call for the overall careers team, as well as some social medias down the right. We'll have events, roles that come up that we consistently get out on our Instagram and our LinkedIn. So on the right here, it's always worth following and keeping up to date with what's going on within our team. So yeah, that's me and Rory. Thank you very much for listening. But yeah, please do get into contact with us. Your placement journey starts now, if it hasn't already.
Absolutely. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Tom. Great stuff. And we'll hopefully see you soon.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone.